Good. Yeah. How was lunch? Yeah, this is a tough time of day, isn't it? All right, so let's get this party. Let's get this. Oh, yeah, that was very different than what he said before. But thanks for playing. Where can you find a pirate who has lost his wooden legs? Right where you left. I got to tell you, these jokes really give me insight to some of the personalities. How do pirates prefer to communicate? How do pirates prefer to communicate? I think it's one of the principles. Eye to eye. Face-to-face communication. I don't know. Very similar. Cool. Well, Kyle, is it Kyle? Or is it Q?
You're saying it like you're saying it like that's like South Park.
Kyle. Kyle. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle.
All right, so there's going to be some learning aids that are coming around, and these guys may shuffle some of the tables because I only have 16 sets, and there are, 21 tables, so some of you guys may have to kind of consolidate together. So just be aware of that as they come around. We'll get to the learning aids in just a minute. Try not to forget this again. I don't know how many of you heard this spiel already. My name is Kyle Wilson. It's spelled K-E-I-L, but it is pronounced Kyle. Share that with your friends because, when I get on conference calls, I want to be misidentified. And I am a enterprise applications architect with the shared systems team in Lincoln, Nebraska. We're the team that's responsible for things like Vista, SharePoint, and Great Plains. Well, I shouldn't say I'm responsible for it. We help to keep it up and running. We help to keep it up and running. In addition to that, I've been an Agile practitioner for about 15 or 16 years, and I got my Scrum Master certification back in 2013. I've been running Agile, mostly development teams early on, but then other IT projects using Agile processes, like Scrum, but not always, to help get IT projects across the finish line. In addition to all that, one of the things I started doing about 6 years ago was I'm an organizer with Agile LNK, which is the local meetup in Lincoln for the Agile community. And as part of that, this talk is kind of born out of that, highlights from 6 weeks of teaching and practicing personal Kanban. Bring my book with me. So last year with this group, one of the things we decided to do was we wanted to take, meetups are, who's been to a meetup before? Or a user group? Okay, so meetup is essentially just a regular meeting. We do ours monthly. Usually they last about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And somebody comes in and they talk, kind of like this. They talk about some topic of interest. And one of the problems that we were seeing in our meetups over the years was that we would get people who would say, I really wish you would talk more about this. The most common one, by far, was always Kanban. People wanted to understand Kanban, and it was just really hard to explain it in an hour, which is what we're going to do right here. But what we wanted to do was to get people to dive in deeper. We wanted to try and spend more time with them. So what we designed was something we called a crash course. And we took 6 weeks, met once a week, and we went through the book Personal Kanban by Jim Benson. Took a couple of chapters a week as we went through it and went over them. The idea was not to just tell people what Kanban is, but to actually get them to experience it. So today we're going to experience it in a really light way. I'm not just going to talk to you about it. So As I mentioned, we met once a week for an hour. That was all we had for 6 weeks. Processed the whole book. Each session covered like 2 chapters roughly. Sessions were hands-on. Participants would actively practice Kanban. So let's start with the most important lesson. The one thing I want you to take away from this presentation today is this. It's 2 rules for personal Kanban. Visualize your work and limit your work in progress. Can we all say it together? Visualize your work, limit your work in progress. Okay, that won't be the last time I do that. These 2 lessons are super important, and they are the most important things that we took away. And I'll talk about how I actually took just these 2 things and applied it to our team in Lincoln and the results that we've seen in a little bit. So let me run this in. Why is it important to visualize your work? Well, let's start with a little...
Oh man, this is absolutely crazy. I mean, this is borderline reckless.
Don't you get it? You don't drive with your eyes, you drive with your heart.
This is just dumb. I can't see a thing.
You gotta feel the road. You gotta let it live inside you. Are you feeling anything now?
I'm feeling a little bit.
Are you? What are you feeling? Tell us what you're feeling.
I'm feeling the warm wood of the steering wheel.
Yeah? What?
A little bit of heat.
That's you in a car. Nailed it together.
Yeah, now I'm really feeling it. I feel like the car could drive itself.
I bet it could. Start with it. Let's jump this car. Yeah, boy. All right, so drive.
That's a good movie. Has anybody ever been on a project that drove itself? I mean, have you ever felt like you molded it to your project tasks? I mean, I've been on plenty of projects that, you just leap in, let's go, let's just get going, And how do you know whether you're making progress? How do you know whether you're moving forward? The best way to do it is, I'm sure you guys have heard about dashboards throughout the weekend or throughout the week. And, it's important to have these dashboards available to us. We see them in real life every day. Dashboard on a car is a great example, but another example might be the battery indicator on your phone. Imagine not having a percentage indicator or some sort of a visual cue about how much battery is left on your phone. What would you do with your phone if you didn't know how much battery was left in it? You'd be plugging it in all the time, right? Never knowing how much is left. Running out, oh man, my phone's out. So these little visual indicators, they help us to measure and respond to changing conditions on a day-to-day basis. Let me move on. A Kanban dashboard looks something like this. It helps us understand the progress that we're making at a glance. So you can tell by this, you can't necessarily see what each of these tasks are and all that, but you can tell that there's lanes for each piece. Those lanes have a meaning. What else can you see up here that might be an indicator of a category or a status?
Color?
Yeah, the color, right? In this group, whatever this group is one of mine, I pulled this up, but they have, sections for what has been completed across this time horizon, issues raised by the group for managing. Your Kanban board doesn't have to be this complex, but the idea is that you can see at a glance what the status of your work is. So compare that to a traditional to-do list. How many of you guys use to-do lists every day? Really? Okay. If you think about a to-do list, it's just, you can't look at a to-do list and see the status. If you look at this list over here on the left, you can't tell what the due dates of that thing are. You have to open up another window maybe to see that. You can't tell what category they are. Sometimes maybe they're colored, sometimes maybe they're not. It depends on your to-do list application. You can't see what priority they are, although you might assume that the most important one is at the top. Has anybody ever had a priority highest priority item that wasn't at the top of their to-do list, or a low priority item at the top of their to-do list? Yeah, that was the name. They're one-dimensional to-do lists. You can't really see what's going on. You can't necessarily see priority. You can't see status. You can't see context either, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So why is it so important to have a visual dashboard as compared to having to read to understand what's going on? We all know what these signs mean, right? Who can tell me what this one up here is?
Stop.
You.
No passing? Both of them, yep. Railroad crossings. So we know what they are. We know what they are just by looking at them. And that's what we want out of our Kanban board. Just by looking at the board, we want to be able to see the status of what we're working on. So let's get into that. Let's start to figure out how that works. Now, do you guys all have a set of marbles and cups at your table? Don't open the bag. You don't? Does anybody at a table that doesn't have marbles and cups? All right. So here's what I want you to do. I want you guys to, you don't need to split into teams because you're already there. What I want you to do is there should be paper or, sticky notes and pens and stuff. Here's what I want you to do. We're going to go through a little estimating exercise. Take the bag out of the cups if it's not already been done. Take the bag out of the cups. Don't open the bag. Yep. Take the bag out of the cups. And then what I want you guys to do is estimate the marbles that are in the bag. So you're going to pass them, you're going to open it, just open the top of it, look into the bag, and estimate the number of white marbles, the total number of marble colors, and which color has the most marbles. Can you do that real quick? All right, get to it. Look at the top of the bag, estimate the number of white marbles, the total number of marble colors, and which color has the most marbles.
Is that what people do? They'll make some shit up and say, no, that's right.
Well, I'm gonna write mine and then you guys.
Probably still done by
If you want to, you can also estimate the total number of marbles in the bag. That would be an interesting challenge too. I want you to estimate the number of white marbles, the number of marble colors, the total number of colors of marbles, and which color has the most marbles in the bag. Who's still working? Try not to drop the marbles, otherwise the count may get off. Number of white marbles, total number of marble colors, which color has the most marbles? Who's still working? Raise your hand if you're still working. Couple more minutes, guys. Huh?
Yeah, we're supposed to agree as a team, individual or a team?
Individual. This is an individual thing. I want you each to come up with your own estimate. All right, who's still working? Show of hands. Who's still working? still going? Everybody still working? Still back there? Okay. You're really taking the time. You guys are a pretty big number back there. How's my volume? Am I too loud now? Okay. I kind of feel like I had to yell on the other mic, so I can actually hear myself now. Are you guys ready? So, exercise 2. Exercise 2. Just hold on before you run off. What I want you to do is, we're going to do the same estimating exercise, but this time I want you to take the bag of marbles and I want you to pour it into one of the cups. And then I want you to do the same estimates. Just pour the marbles into one of the cups and do the same estimates. Number of white marbles, total number of marble colors, which color has the most marbles, and if you want, the total number of marbles.
Do they have to be completely white? To be considered white? Your interpretation? Oh, it's I got green,
Number of white marbles, number of marble colors, total number of colors, and which color has the most marbles.
Just found one of your strengths. That must be losing.
if there's 3 total colors.
Total number of colors.
That's tricky because we have white one with colors in it. I asked the same question.
So,
What do you say?
who's still working?
It's your interpretation.
All right. Another minute or so, maybe, guys. Another minute or so. Maybe I should put a time limit on you guys so you can't sit there and count. If I gave you the entire hour, you'd use it just to figure out. All right, anybody still working? We ready to move on? Okay, guys. Exercise 3. Exercise 3. Same set of estimates, but this time I want you to take the marbles and I want you to organize them by color into the cups. Organize the marbles by color or type into each cup. And then I want you to do the estimates again. Don't lose the marbles. That'll make the estimating harder. Or at least less accurate. Oh, did you see that one? All right, so the estimates are the total number of white marbles, the total number of colors, marble colors, and which color has the most marbles. And if you want, throw in the total number of marbles. Total number of, the number of white marbles, the number of marble colors, which marble color has the most marbles, and then the total number of marbles. Are we all done? Well, it was a little easier that last one, wasn't it? Okay. So, what did we learn? What did we learn? Yeah, how many people got the total number of marbles right straight out of the gate while they were all in the bag? Quite a few. How many got the number of white marbles right while you were staring in the bag? Okay. How many got the total number of colors right while you were staring in the bag? Okay. How many got which color had the most marbles while you were staring in the bag? That was a little bit easier depending on how those marbles were organized. I bet you some bags it was more difficult. Thank you. So, now, at the end, all right, at the end, how many got the total number of marbles right? At the end. How many got the total number of white marbles right?
At the end?
How many got at the end? How many got the total number of colors right at the end? Okay? So, look, it was real easy to do at the end, right? Because you separated them out. It was obvious which one had the most colors. It was easy to count how many white marbles there were. Right? So, why did I have you guys do this exercise? This is it. When you look at the marbles in the bag, I liken that to an unplanned project. You've got all the details in your head. My wife wants me to paint my bathroom. She knows exactly what she wants me to do. It's all in her head. So when we're estimating like that, that's a project that you got, it's unplanned. When we did the second exercise, all the marbles into one cup, that's more like a to-do list. So when you have a to-do list, you can kind of see some of the details, but they get jumbled up a little bit. How many got the number of white marbles right in the second exercise? It was kind of hard. Why? What was the trouble with that? There were white marbles, and then there were kind of white marbles, right? All right, and then the third example, which is obvious to you guys now, is a Kanban board. When you go to somebody, you go to a developer or an engineer, and you say, how long is it going to take you to do X? Which one of these are you getting? You're getting which? Unplanned work, right? When you go to a developer and you say, how long will it take you to build this form? You're getting unplanned work. What are they forgetting to take into account? Those of you who work with developers would know this. What are they forgetting to take into account with their work? No one wants to volunteer? What do developers always forget when they give you their estimates?
Testing.
Thank you. There's one other thing they always forget. What's the second one they forget? Testing's ugly brother. What?
Implementation.
Documentation. They're not estimating that because we never think of that stuff. Implementation, though, is a good one. Because a lot of times they think, well, yeah, I'll be done with it and I'll push the prod. No, wait, there's a whole process we've got to go through to push the prod, hopefully. Hopefully. So I just want you guys to be aware, one of the reasons to get this work into a visible fashion, like a Kanban board, is so that you can see that work. Because now you'll take into account some things when it's in your head you never would. Questions? Comments? Blank stares? Thanks for all the blank stares. Okay. Rule number one is what?
Visualize your work.
Visualize your work. Rule number two. Limit work in progress. So, we want to focus on limiting width because it helps us improve our focus. It helps us reduce the context switching penalty. Has anybody ever been overwhelmed by tasks and had a hard time keeping track? I mean, that happens to me, unfortunately, altogether too often. But most importantly, by limiting our work in progress, we complete something. How many of you ever heard the phrase, stop starting and start finishing? Because as a corporation, as an organization, like every other organization, we're great at starting stuff, aren't we? We like to start stuff, because starting stuff's fun. Finishing it kind of sucks. Starting it, though, it's awesome. Finishing it means we got to do the documentation, we got to do the testing. Okay. So, to-do lists have no width. They have no work in progress. When you look at your to-do list, you just consume the to-do list. You don't know what needs to be done today. You don't know what needs to be done tomorrow. You don't know what you should be focused on. You think maybe it's in a priority order, but you're not sure. So, let me show you this. Can you guys see this? I don't know if you can see this in the back. This is from the book Personal Kanban, by the way. And let me just read you real quick what it says here. This is what I've underlined. When you peruse your to-do list and ask yourself, what's the biggest emergency? That's not prioritization, it's reaction. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more we react, the more we will have to react to. And what I wrote here on the side was, my to-do list often feels like I'm drowning in tasks and struggling to stay above the watering line. And I was so affected by it that I drew a picture of myself drowning in tasks. I mean, look at that. This is high-quality artwork. These are my tasks here, the ways that I'm drowning, splashing. I'm not kidding, though. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys do. I was a big to-do list proponent before leaping into the personal Kanban thing. And I just can't tell you how often those tasks just flood over you. And you look at your to-do list and you go, oh, I forgot to add 20 tasks. I've got to go and add the tasks. And now you're even more underwater. Work in progress is all about capacity versus throughput. What is capacity? It's the maximum amount that something can contain. This highway is at capacity. Is it functioning? What do you see here? Gridlock, right? But it's got as many cars on it as it can take, right? That's what capacity is. But what we want to focus on with WIP is not capacity. How many, by the way, how many of you have ever, when you start your project teams, you think about, okay, here, how much capacity do my developers have? Or how much capacity do my team members have? We're really focused on capacity. If we focus on throughput is the maximum rate at which something can be processed. Sorry. Chris is getting more meeting notifications here that I'm covering up my notes. Throughput is about maximizing flow. So when we think about Kanban, think about personal Kanban, what we've got to be focused on is not how much we can do, how much we can add to our to-do list, but how much we can actually get done. Nobody wants to drink from this water fountain, right? By controlling the number of tasks that we have, that we're focused on, we're able to deliver the right things in a timely manner with high quality, instead of kicking things off the truck, right? Okay, new exercise. What I want you guys to do is to organize yourselves. We're going to have a starting cup and then 3 additional cups. We want one person on each of the first 3 cups. Okay? And then I'm going to have you guys, I want everyone to get their hands on the marbles and stuff, so we'll change as we go through the additional exercises. All right? We want to think about each marble having 1 point, but it only gets a point if all the marbles of that color are in the last cup. Okay? So put all the marbles back in cup 1 for me. You'll have 40 seconds to complete the objective. You may only move 1 marble. You may only move 1 marble at a time. You guys are going to have to rearrange yourselves so that you're close enough to be able to move the marbles. You may only move 1 marble at a time. You cannot dump marbles from cup to cup. Assign 1 team member to each of the first 3 cups. Marbles may only move to an adjacent cup. You can't throw one from 1 to 4. The objective is successive cups have no WIP limit. What that means is that I want you to fill up the entire cup before you start moving to the next cup. There's no limit to how many can be in a cup at a time. So when you start moving marbles, you're going to move them and fill the entire second cup up, the entire third cup up, and then the last cup. Okay? As fast as possible, move all the marbles from 1 cup to the next cup. You may only move 1 marble at a time, which I said earlier. Do you understand the rules?
So in the end, you need all the colors in the different cups.
In the end, the goal is to move all of the marbles from cup 1 to cup 4.
Oh yeah, can't do anything.
Don't start doing it yet.
No way.
You still have a question?
All the marbles of the color must be in the last cup or like.
That's correct. So if you get, how many marbles are there? There are 4 white marbles. If you only get 3 white marbles in the last cup, you get no points. If you get all 4 marbles in the last cup, you get 4 points. Other questions? Do you guys need to rearrange yourselves a little bit? All right, are you ready? Wait. I gotta get the timer ready. Ready, go. All the marbles have to be in the second cup before you can move them to the third cup. All the marbles have to be in the second cup before you can move them to the third cup. All the marbles have to be in the second cup before you can move them to the third cup. There's no width limit. Cup 2 has to fill up before you can move to cup 3. Cup 3 has to fill up before you can move to cup 4. 10 seconds left.
What? Mic testing.
You're done. You're done. Yeah, way to bring it home. So, raise your hand if your table got all of the marbles moved.
Yeah!
Did you cheat?
No! Yes!
All right. So we're going to do this exercise again, guys. Exercise 2. Move all the marbles back into one cup, or move cup. You filled it up by feeding, move your cup to the front. In this exercise, it's the same rules. Same rules. You have to move the marbles one at a time. The only difference is going to be we have a width limit of 3. Now, once your second cup has 3 marbles in it, you can start moving them to, it has 4 marbles in it, you can start moving it to the next cup. All right? So our width limit is 3 this time. Each cup has to have 3 marbles in it before you can start moving that 4th marble. Once you have no marbles left, you can start moving all the marbles out, of course. Questions about that? Same exercise one at a time. Go ahead and change it up so that other people get a chance to do the exercise. So it's not the same 3 people every time, unless you only have 3 people at your table. Change it up so that everybody gets a chance. All right. All the marbles start in cup 1, go to cup 2, then cup 3, then cup 4. 3 marbles in a cup before you can start moving the 4th marble to the next cup. Questions? You ready to start? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Twenty seconds left. 20 seconds left. Ten seconds left. 10 seconds left. Stop. All right. How many? I heard some marbles, by the way, after I yelled stop, still moving. How many people got finished? Okay. So a little bit better. A little bit better. Not everyone, though. Okay, guys, you ready for the third exercise? Move all the marbles back to the first cup again. Back to the first cup again. Now we're going to have a width limit of 1. What that means is as soon as there's a marble in the second cup, the second marble can go in, you can keep moving them, okay? You just keep moving them, one at a time if you want to. Width limit of 1. So as you guys move, you can move to the next cup. Same rules otherwise. All the marbles need to move to the last cup. It only counts if all the colors get in the last cup. We may only move one more. Questions? Questions? You guys are all talking a lot? Question?
No, I got it.
Got it? Have you moved all the marbles to the first cup? Are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go! 1. All right, you're all done. How many people finished, got all the way through? Did any team not get all the way through? What'd you notice about the last one as compared to the other two? They were a lot faster. That's true. It's easier to keep track of how many were in each one. How many of you noticed that you started to kind of develop a rhythm about how you were moving the marbles? So when you focus on those smaller pieces of work, it allows you to pay closer attention to each piece. And, by the way, it makes you more efficient. Did anybody not finish faster this time than they did last time?
Okay.
So one thing to think about is, what happens now if we're doing this exercise and I say, look, all the white marbles, they're worth 4 points. What would you do first? Right. But if you've got them all in a batch and you're moving them from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 3, it's a lot harder to make that adjustment. If you're doing one piece at a time and you're midstream, now you can go back to the beginning and start moving the white marbles forward first, leaving the other marbles right where they are, and make that adjustment. Make sense? Okay, don't lose the marbles. We're done with them for now. But please don't lose them. I can't tell you where to paint it. Put all the cups and the marbles together, and we'll kind of go on. So,